Hello, this is Mark Wildman, and today we are going to be talking about heavy club size selection for men. Club selection is an interesting topic because it's a lot lighter than people think it's going to be. Your intro weights are much lower than people would expect them to be based on what they can do with other weight loads. In keeping with an idea of having the most economic starting point, you could buy all the clubs immediately, but most people aren't going to do that. They're going to buy them piecemeal, one club at a time. What I recommend for men, I don't care who you are, is that you buy a 15-pound club first. You have two major options for where you can buy this. You can buy these rubber-coated ones, which are pretty good if you have hardwood floors. This is from R-Max International. That's R with an R, M-A-X, R-Max International. The good thing about these clubs is that if you live in an apartment someplace, the rubber on them will keep them from destroying your floors when you set them down. Big, heavy, fully iron clubs work better in normal gyms where they have a rubber flooring already. So one of the things usually has to be rubber if you don't want to have to pay your landlord a ton of money later to fix floors. The second club that you should get is a 20-pound club. These are the increments that are available, so this is what we're going to recommend. And the final club that men should get in the beginning is a 25-pound club. These three clubs, 15, 20, 25, are going to give you the most bang for your buck. You could go out and immediately buy a 45 and you will get no bang for your buck because you are not strong enough to move it. Maybe you are, but not for the type of numbers that we're looking at. Can you pick it up once? Yes. Can you pick it up 100 times and swing it around your head? Probably not. If you can, then you probably already did club training and you probably already have clubs. The point of starting with a 15-pound club is that most people's muscles are stronger than their joints, and that has to do with the way that people have been trained for years. Most people do not rotate their wrist, their elbow, their shoulder, and their spine under load, especially not under a leverage load. So people might be able to bicep curl 60 pounds. A 15-pound club will still feel heavy to them because we're not just doing this. Throughout the range of motion, your arm is rotating through a bunch of different positions over and over and over again. If you're really strong in one plane of motion, it does not mean that you are strong in all 6 directions. And when I say 6 directions, what I mean is, if you think mathematically, X, Y, Z, and then there's also the rotationary directions, R, Q, S. If you're a nerd, that made sense to you. If not, all you had to get out of that was that there's more than just a curl. There is more than a curl with a rotation at the top to get that peak in your bicep. There are all of these other movements and stabilities that you need to train from the ground up. If you're like a competition CrossFitter, then you could probably start with a 20-pound club. Probably. But it would behoove you to start with a lighter club and get the technique down better. We're always trying to get the technique down better, and the way that we do that with clubs is by starting light and adding volume over time. There are 2 ways to train clubs. You have your volume cycles and you have time under tension. Those are your 2 programs. The 15-pound club will work for that, absolutely no problem, for at least a year. So you're going to get a year out of that one $70, $80 weight, depending on where you get it from. When you think about clubs, what we want you to think about is single arm activity probably being the most important part of the training. There is 2-hand training in clubs, massive amounts of it. But most people take a club and they use it to add on to other types of training. So if you were a CrossFitter, then you would have a accessory day, which would be 15-pound club. Single arm work to work on the rotation and stability of your joints for casting patterns. If you're a kettlebellar, same thing is true. Your heavy day is going to be your kettlebells, and your technical day is going to be your clubs, single arm programs, and you can take one club and run a single arm program minimum with absolutely no stops for about 6 months. And then you're going to go up to that 20-pound club. The smallest jump that you can do is the best jump. If there were a 17.5, that's what we would be recommending instead, but there aren't. Nobody makes them. So 15, 20, 25, and then you start a training program and you run it over and over and over again. So if you just buy those 3 clubs, you can get about 1.5 to 3 years out of it just running a single hand program, depending on how fast you run that program. And how fast you run that program is determined by 2 things. How strong are your joints already for torque and torsion, and what are your other days like? If you're doing a 400-pound back squat one day, then that technical day for skill can go ahead and be light because you're using it as an active skill recovery instead of as a standalone training piece. Doesn't matter if you're doing just clubs at home because that's what you want to work on. There's still a lot of load that's going to happen in there. Your elbows, your shoulders, and your core, your lower back, and the arches of your feet take time to develop. They take thousands of reps. So take my advice, buy the 15-pound club first, then the 20, then the 25. This has been Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica.